I think when I was just starting to get into bartending and then talking to people that wanted to set up home bars, the big things we always talked about was what spirits and all the bartending equipment that we needed. Now, don't get me wrong, back then we certainly didn't have the choices, the amount of availability that we do these days. But I have to say, back then, even syrups was still kind of a big deal. However, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I genuinely can't think of one conversation we had about citrus. Now, I know cocktails have come on leaps and bounds in the last 20 or 30 years. However, when you go back and look at some of these recipes from yesteryear, there is a big element of citrus juice, lemon juice traditionally, but some had lime juice. Adding citrus is vital to many, many cocktails. Yet it's still totally and completely overlooked in a lot of cases. Cocktail fans, welcome back to the Drinkstuff YouTube channel. We are your one-stop shop for all your cocktail needs, except for the booze. Hopefully this video will help you to understand and help you to make cocktails on a budget at home, because I am going to be talking prices and stuff like that in this video. But the thing I want to achieve by the end of this series is really helping you make some awesome cocktails as cheaply as possible at home to save you going out and spending loads and loads of money on your favourite drinks. Now, I do kind of understand. I understand that to a lot of people, they really do think citrus is irrelevant to their favourite cocktail. I even get it with cocktail masterclasses. People don't want to put lime juice in a mojito. They think they can just get away with using Sprite instead of soda water. I mean, the logic is, why would you add a flavour to a cocktail that you just simply don't like drinking neat? Who the hell likes drinking neat citrus juice? But when you start to make your own cocktails and understand that the role that citrus juice plays into that cocktail, I promise you, you will never look back. Now look, I'm not going to kid you. You must realise here at Drinkstuff, we do sell plenty of citrus alternatives. Well, not actually alternatives, actual physical citrus. And I will toe the company line in a second. After all, I am a big fan of some of these products. But I'm also not a fan of making false claims. And remember, I'm coming at this from a budget angle as well. So keeping it real for a few seconds, look, proper lemons, fresh limes will give you better tasting cocktails. The moment they are squeezed and juiced, you just cannot replicate that exact flavour. Fresh, zingy, zesty, light, you just can't replicate it. And look, being brutally honest as well, I will always recommend you go and seek out your local fruit and veg shop. And I don't necessarily mean farm shops in the UK, I mean proper fruit and veg shops. Price-wise, yes, they may be a few pennies more expensive than Tesco or Aldi, but size-wise, in a supermarket, they're always going to be smaller. Unless, of course, you have a really terrible fruit and veg shop. So by buying limes and lemons from a supermarket, what you gain in pennies in your back pocket, you actually use in yield, in physical juice out of that fruit. To give you a rough example, I go to Tesco's quite a lot. I do buy some limes from there occasionally, and I will struggle to get 15 ml of lime juice out of one lime. When I go to my fruit and veg lady, I'll get a lime. I will easily clear 25 ml, sometimes even 30 ml from a lime. You see, when we're talking fruit and veg shops, they will traditionally get their stock direct from Covent Garden Fruit Market. And specifically when we're talking about citrus fruit, they would traditionally be class 1 lemons, class 1 limes, and I'm referring to size. Whereas supermarkets, you're going to struggle to maybe even get class 2. They're probably more likely class 3, especially on the lemons. So going back to Tesco's for a second, where I do traditionally shop, you might think 17p for a lime is an absolute bargain. But if we're talking physical quantity of juice and we want 25, 30 ml of juice, that 17p will actually probably be 2 limes. So you're talking roughly 34, 35p to get the equivalent juice out of a lime that you can probably get from your local fruit and veg shop for about 25p. Now, if we're talking wedges, you can easily get 6 wedges out of a lime, the smaller limes from Tesco. So if you're just talking wedges to like decorate your glass at the top, probably not a big deal. I mean, all right, I will get 8 wedges out of a lime from my fruit and veg compared to 6 from Tesco's. But for me, for the drinks I make, it's very rare that I want wedges. Maybe your bottles of Corona and stuff like that are probably better for supermarket limes because they're smaller, but traditionally I want juice. So physical money in your pocket, while the limes are more expensive at the fruit and veg shop, it actually works out cheaper juice-wise. So now where does Drinkstuff and these products come into this equation? Because Drinkstuff sell a couple of products here that I wholeheartedly endorse. And as some of you will have seen if you've been following me for a long time, I have done a blind tasting on these with daiquiris. And while I did pick the difference between fresh and a couple of these products, the difference was so marginal, I actually preferred one of these products in a daiquiri over fresh juice. You see, when it actually comes to physical cost per milliliter of lemon juice, of lime juice, these products absolutely smash it. Now, not only am I talking about that at face value, if you're a pub or bar, I'm actually talking about saving you labour costs as well. Those cocktail bars that still pay someone an hour, a couple of hours on a Friday afternoon to come in and juice the citrus ready for service that night or even the weekend, these products are gonna save you a shed load of money. And if you're thinking, hang on a minute, you've just said fresh will always give you better tasting. I just want to caveat that, because if you are prepping citrus juice for the evening service, for the weekend service, citrus juice does oxidize very, very quickly. Now, I don't mean to the point that it goes off. I mean to the point it changes its taste. And if you juice a lemon or a lime and then leave it for an hour, maybe 2, maybe 3, heaven forbid the next day, you are really going to struggle to tell the difference between that juice that you pre-juiced and this. Now let's just quickly talk about these products here, because long-time followers of mine will be thinking, hang on, why has he got that morning rancho here? Now, I've got it here, Drinkstuff sell it, so I'm going to talk about it. This isn't what I would call fresh juice in the same vein as this. This is a pimped up, slightly tastier version of Jif, of super, you know, those little sort of Jif lemon, Jif limes that you get, or even the bottles from your supermarket. This has got all kinds of other ingredients in it to keep it shelf stable. It is not fresh lemon or lime juice in the sense that these are. But price-wise, and I'll be honest, there's some of you that just won't care, price-wise, this does actually work quite well, because you don't actually even need to keep this in the fridge. Keeping it in the fridge will give it more longevity. Is that the right word? Longevity? Of course it is. It'll keep for longer if you do keep it in the fridge, but they are designed to be long life and shelf stable. I mean, even on the back of the bottle, it says consume within 3 months after opening. Does that mean after 4 months it's going to hurt you? No, absolutely not. It's a recommended thing. It will probably if it's saying 3 months, you can pretty much guarantee it's going to be good for 4, 5, 6 months. But you're going to have to do your own tests on that. But it also says store in a clean, dry, cool place. It doesn't say keep it in the fridge. So the chances are if you do keep it in the fridge, those 3 months may, don't hold me to this, may double. I don't know. So that is a good alternative. It's not the best. If you watch that video that I did on my channel, you will see that this just marginally beat Jif Lemon in a blind tasting. But it is better than Jif Lemon or supermarket. It wasn't Jif, to be fair, it was Tesco's own lemon juice that I used, lime juice, sorry. Let's talk about what these products actually are. Funkin Pro, designed for bartenders, designed for proper bars and all that. This is 100% lime juice and 100% lemon juice, okay? There is, I think, don't hold me to this, I haven't got the facts on this, I think there is a tiny, minuscule amount of antioxidant in that. Minuscule, I think. I don't know. I genuinely don't know, but I would imagine there is. But they do say on the back it is 100% lemon or lime juice. Now, the antioxidant that I will talk about in this, in the ODK, because ODK is the same, there is a tiny, I know this, I've been told this, there is a tiny amount of antioxidant in these. But that antioxidant is the same as what the wine industry uses. So if you open a bottle of Pinot Grigio, of Chardonnay, of Sauvignon Blanc, that 99.9% of the times, that has also got an antioxidant in it to keep it fresh in the bottle. Now, the products I endorsed for a good few years were the ODK stuff, because they do last 30 days plus easily. And you don't even have to refridge those as well. I do recommend it because they do last even longer in the fridge, but they will keep for a long time. However, doing this blind tasting that I did a few months ago, it was actually the Funkin, and this is in daiquiri, this is a lime. The lime Funkin absolutely smashed it. It was so good. The only problem with it, once you open that foil patch, and this is why I'm not overly convinced there's antioxidant in it. There may be, I don't know, but this will go off within a couple of weeks. I mean, it says use within 10 days on the back of the pouch. I've got 3 weekends out of this, so open it on a Friday night, so you've got Friday, Saturday, you've got Friday, Saturday the next weekend, and then I've got Friday, Saturday, so I've got 3 weekends out of it, so roughly sort of 16, 17 days. But after that, the pouch does sort of start to expand a little bit, and that's when you know it's kind of getting a little bit fizzy. But I just want to touch on a couple of things here. Firstly, I'm going to touch on price in a second, but firstly, let's talk about the freshness of these, because in some cases, these will actually be fresher juice than the limes and the lemons you get from your supermarket. Why? Because these are juiced within hours of being picked. You know, they're not being kept in cold storage, they're not being transported all around the world to wherever they get to. They're physically being picked, being juiced and bottled or pouched. And that is why they taste so good, because they are essentially fresh juice. Yes, I know that's slightly hypocritical because they are long life and shelf stable, but from the point that it is juiced, bearing in mind the antioxidant and the pouches kind of preserve that flavour, that is why they taste really good. But I also need to come back to price as well, because roughly, I don't know prices, people have different prices, trade and all that. You are looking roughly, give or take, half the price of the equivalent amount of lemons or limes. So just to give you a rough ballpark figure, say £9, slightly under £9, you'll be easily paying the equivalent of sort of £14, £15 in limes, in lemons to get the same amount of juice. So my point here is, if you're just making 1 or 2 cocktails at the weekend, I would thoroughly recommend you just go and buy 2, 3, 4 limes from your high street fruit and veg. However, if you are making slightly more cocktails, if you are making sort of 10, 15, maybe 20 over a couple of weeks, that's where products like this come into their own. And if you are making even more, I mean, if you're talking like hundreds of cocktails over the weekend, you cannot go wrong. And that's aimed at cocktail bars. You cannot go wrong with products like this. And if you don't believe me on how they taste, do the test. Make a daiquiri. Firstly, juice some lime juice and sort of leave it sitting for a couple of hours, say 3 hours or so. Just leave it sitting for 3 hours. Then make a daiquiri with that. Make a daiquiri with this, and then juice some fresh lime there and then. So you've got 3 daiquiris. Do a 3 daiquiri test. Yes, the fresh there and then will probably win, but the fresh 3 hours later, you're going to struggle to really pick the difference. Now in the next video, helping you make cocktails on a budget, I'm talking syrups.